So in this segment, I want to discuss there was a recent kind of huge Tory WhatsApp leak around the vote, around people that are being accused of various crimes, like sexual assault and things like that, and they would be banned from the House of Commons, or shall I say Parliament. And the Tories had a complete meltdown over it, which is wild considering, like, you would think that's normal. In most businesses, that's normal. And that's something that, what's his name? Andrew Marr talked about on LBC. Like, if he was accused of something, he wouldn't be just allowed to go back into the office. There'd be a huge disciplinary case. Like, there would be an investigation into it. And so the Tories had a complete meltdown over it. And it's really bad, some of the stuff that they said over this. So let's listen to what Sam Coates said, because somehow someone keeps leaking all the WhatsApp messages to him.
Tory MPs are grumpy. Why? Because many of them found themselves on the losing side of a vote on MPs' conduct last night. The Tories wanted a new plan to exclude MPs who've been charged with offences from coming onto the parliamentary estate. But the winning proposal came from the Lib Dems. That was a proposal that any MP who has been arrested should be excluded. Now, there was a tense vote on...
Again, arrested. And the thing is, the reason why they want to hide this is if MPs, I think, are charged with crimes or arrested for crimes, they can't be named publicly. So there was the big case of the MP who was charged last year and their name wasn't made public because they passed the law to protect themselves. In any other case, your name would be public, but MPs are the exception to that. So if one of the MPs is charged, it doesn't, no one's going to know who it is, but the party might know. But the other MPs won't, and you best believe the party will keep it hush-hush. So, the idea that can happen is ridiculous, considering you can have a person abuse multiple people and get away with it because no one will know that they've been charged, effectively. They won't have more kind of witnesses come forward or more victims come forward. It's just nuts.
On Monday night, and many Tories found themselves outmanoeuvred by the opposition, mistakes made by the government side. I've been given leaked WhatsApps from the Tory WhatsApp group showing the sense of...
Look, guys, stop, Tories, if you want some free advice here, stop with these WhatsApp groups, because someone's leaking them to Sam Coates. You got to find them all, like OVO.
Of anger inside the Tory party and frustration over what went on. So the moment they realised the Liberal Democrats were on course to win their proposal to exclude people at the point of arrest, the Minister, Anne-Marie Trevelyan, appealed to colleagues to come and vote, saying that otherwise you'd all be excluded, anyone arrested would be excluded, and that would...
And again, maybe don't harass other people. If you've been arrested for a crime, I think you should be named. Definitely if you've been charged. If the police think they have enough to charge you, you should definitely be named. And you definitely really should not be going to the House of to Parliament. You really shouldn't be allowed anyone near that area. You shouldn't be allowed near constituents either, because oftentimes you can have vulnerable constituents.
That would be a problem. Loads of Tory MPs pile in and agree with them, including more government ministers and prominent backbenchers. Greg Hand saying, I'll definitely vote down the motion this vote. That's the Liberal Democrat proposal.
I hope Greg keeps his hands to himself, because... Again, it's a bit dodgy. They're trying to vote against this.
Proposal. Brendan Clark-Smith calls it an attack on basic civil liberties.
How is it an attack on basic civil liberties when any other person who's a non-MP, if you're arrested for something, your name will be made public?
And Therese Coffey suggests that if you vote down the Liberal Democrat plans, you'd be voting with a cross-party committee. But then it turns out that the vote that the Tories want to win never takes place. Division off, says the Cambridgeshire MP Anthony Brown. And the anger starts to trickle. Unbelievable. What's happening? This is crazy, says another. Miriam Cates explained that the vote could never happen, basically because of a cock-up with the whips, because there were no tellers. And this really unleashes bad feeling in the Tory WhatsApp group. Angela Richardson says, what an S show. Andrea Leadsom calls it a sad day. That from a prominent former cabinet minister. Sherilyn McElroy, a lesson in what Labour government will lead to.
I mean, it was a Lib Dem amendment for a start, but also, if Labour are going to vote on stuff that's actually good, then, I would welcome that more than anything.
And you can see them starting to get wound up. Miriam Cates saying she was at a loss to understand why that they were not told that there'd be no tellers. Brendan Clark-Smith making essentially an inaccurate joke about Angela Rayner, and then MPs mocking.
Angela better hope her interview goes well. I genuinely don't get what that means. And again, that's a bit, the Tory obsession with Rayner is a bit weird, to be honest with you.
What's happened. We're all going to be banned from the estate. Now, says one, watch the vexatious complaints roll in.
And this is how they feel about victims. Like, people will just make vexatious complaints against MPs to get them banned from Parliament. It is genuinely an abhorrent statement to make. And, you know, the agreement there from Miriam Gates is just, it's ugly. So ugly.
At his heart, what happened on Monday night was Rishi Sunak's allies and people in his cabinet apparently making a mistake that's contributed to big grumpiness on the Tory backbenches.
Imagine them being this mad about this, that a bill is, essentially a code of conduct change, so that if MPs are arrested for a crime, they're going to be outed effectively. Again, like, if any other kind of ordinary person gets arrested, their name will be out in public.
Tory MPs are grumpy. Why? Because many of them found themselves on the losing side of a vote on MPs' conduct last night.
I'm just going to flip back over.
Tories wanted a new plan to exclude MPs who've been charged with offences from coming onto the parliamentary estate.
So charged is when the police think there's enough evidence that you've done wrongdoing, effectively. When the police charge it, it's generally they'll have some sort of evidence, maybe witness statements or whatever, to say that you've done a specific crime, and they'll get passed over to CPS.
But the winning proposal came from the Lib Dems. That was a proposal that any MP who has been arrested should be excluded. Now, there was a tense vote on...
Again, it's not just necessarily they've committed like a violent crime. I think arrested could be like for drink driving or disorderly conduct, I think. So this idea that they should be protected from if they're arrested for these sorts of things is just nuts, especially given on the back of we had a Tory MP who effectively might have used party or donor funds to pay off some very bad people. I think it was like $5,000 or something like that. You know, there are some really dodgy characters in Parliament, and the idea that they should be protected if they're arrested is just nuts to me. If the police are confident in arresting a sitting MP, I would wager the police, especially the Met Police, probably have something decent to go on, because, you know, if they start arresting MPs for no reason, it's going to cause a massive political mess. So banning MPs who have been arrested for sexual offences from the parliamentary estate is a lesson in what a Labour government will lead to. I would welcome that Labour government 100%, especially the main problem being this is a Lib Dem amendment. And I know people are giving Natalie Elphicke a lot of props for being the deciding vote in this. But at the same time, like, if she voted against this, it just shows you what scumbag she is. So her doing the bare minimum gets a credit. I guess it's in a clutch vote, but even still. And, you know, these points here, we're all going to get banned from the estate now. Watch the vexatious complaints roll in. I mean, this is really wild that, you know, that there are, female MPs that are making these statements. Like, they could easily be the victims of, crimes of some of these other MPs. You know, I think Andrea Leadsom herself was touched inappropriately, I think on the thigh by another, a male MP, a Tory MP. So it can happen to any one of those, and it's not just them. Caroline Noakes, I think, had a few stories as well. So it could happen to any one of them. And the idea that, would you want to be sitting next to someone who potentially has been arrested by the police, and you didn't know about it? It doesn't make any sense. Especially when, if you listen to what Jess Phillips has to say here, and this is the reality of the situation here.
Today, just on this one day, I've spoken to 2 women who were raped by members of this Parliament. 2. Just today. That's a fairly standard day for me. And I noticed that these are not the people who've so far been mentioned much today. And
could you imagine a situation where you can report them to the police? They may be arrested and questioned or whatever, and they can go back to work. If the police don't charge them, they can go back the next day to work, and you will end up seeing them.
And some of them told me what they wanted.
You might not even know they've been arrested. You might not even know they've been arrested because their names are kept hidden. That's the system we live under. So it could be the case that you're not aware of what's been on. It could be you're a victim of someone. They've been arrested for a crime they've done to someone else, and you wouldn't know about it. So you wouldn't be able to go give supporting evidence or anything like that.
Did me to say today. The exclusion at the point of charge sends a clear message to victims that not only will we not investigate unless a victim goes to the police, but we won't act unless they're charged, which happens in less than 1% of cases. Exactly. So what's the point, was essentially what this victim said to me. And I wonder if the Honourable Lady from the Procedures Committee, who told us of all the people that she had had in front of her, how many of the victims of these crimes came and gave evidence or were given an opportunity to give evidence in private?
None.
And so I am going to stand here and I'm going to speak up for them, because every single one of them wishes for this to be on arrest. And the idea that an arrest can happen on a vexatious charge does somewhat suggest that nobody in this building who has said that has ever dealt with an arrest in a case of sexual violence or serious violence, and that this amendment to make it arrest, it happens to be in the name of somebody who, as we've already shown, is always right on this, and a former police officer.
This is what I'm saying, like the idea that police will just go around arresting people, especially MPs, on vexatious charges, I genuinely don't see that happening, because again, it will cause a massive political storm, and you best believe this Tory government would weaken the powers of specifically the Met Police or any other police force that would be involved in this kind of stuff. So it once again shows you that the Conservative Party do not care about victims. Even if they could be victims within their own party, they do not care. They don't care about staff. They don't care about anyone else apart from their donor buddies and their inner circle, their boys' club. Realistically, because again, who are the most likely to be? Who are the people who are most likely to be victims? In this case, most likely to be women. Let's be honest now. Most likely to be women. And so, if they go to the police or whatever, if they try and get these people, investigated, it causes a massive political problem for that specific party. But also, if they're just arrested, at least their name gets out there, and other victims can come forward. Like Jess Phillips said, it should be a way bigger expert than probably most of the House of Commons. Let's be honest on this. If she's saying that they wouldn't, police can't just act on vexatious charges like this, I'd take her word for it. I'll be honest. And so, the idea that, these guys are going to get locked up or, their name's going to be made public over these kind of charges is just nuts. And I think this lot have got something to hide it, because some of the stuff they say and some of the stuff they do is really dodgy. Brendan Clark-Smith's obsession here with Rayner, mentioning it out of nowhere, doesn't make sense. That guy, Jack Barrington or whatever his name is, saying like we're all going to get banned from the estate now. I mean, these are the people, honestly, that are worth probably watching out for. Because the question is, why are they so nervous? Why are they so nervous? But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Tory party meltdown over, an objectively good code of conduct change. Honestly, I'm 100% here for it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.